This is a translation of Gandhi Rinpoche's supplication. It's called A Bouquet of White Lotus, read by the 104th Gandhi Tripa, Jetsun Losang Tenzin Rinpoche. Om, may there be well-being and auspiciousness. By the force of youthful Manjushri entering your heart, O Vagendra, all the rivers of Sutra and Tantra are well collected in you. Who is excellent intellect, primordial gnosis, may you remain steadfast amid an ocean of skillful upholders of the Buddha's teaching. Beginning with these auspicious lines, we, the Central Tibetan Administration, on behalf of the Tibetans inside and outside Tibet and the protected deities of Tibet, bow at your feet on an elevated diamond throne and briefly make our request with undivided faith in you, Your Holiness, to live a long life, while we also make our rock-solid pledge to you as well. Your Holiness, you are the Lord Master of the complete teaching of the Buddha on earth, the helmsman of world peace, the protector, refuge, and symbol of Tibet and Tibetan people. Your Holiness, you are the universal treasure, refuge and protector, the triumphant Lord, all-knowing and greatly knowledgeable. Kindly allow us to utter your real name for a good reason and purpose. Jitsun jumping awan losan yishi tenzin gyatso sisum wangyu tsungpa mepe de pel sambo. It is said in the prayer of Avalokiteshvara, your 1,000 hands represent the 1,000 universal monarchs. Your 1,000 eyes represent the 1,000 Buddhas of the fortunate aeon. You manifest in various forms suitable to tame beings with different mental dispositions. Avalokiteshvara is the special deity of Tibetan people whose flower of prayers fell on him. Though he attained Buddhahood oceans of aeons ago, he has assumed the roles of kings who have skillfully ruled their lands and administered and enhanced the societies. Appeared in various forms such as Shravaka, solitary realizers, bodhisattvas, scholars and accomplished practitioners in order to tame beings who are difficult to tame and lead through the path of spiritual maturation and enlightenment. In India, at the time of the Buddha, you appeared as radiant child and 36 kings such as Lokeshvara. As you pledged, may I be like their parents to the beings of the snowland, you manifested as 10 religious kings such as the 3 ancestral kings, Sonseng Gampo, Trizon Disen and Tri Rapachan, and the series of Dalai Lamas. So you have come in inconceivable manifestations of various personalities to tame fortunate beings who have different interests and dispositions at different times, places and circumstances. Your Holiness, our Supreme Guardian, you were born in Tsongkha Dekham region of Amdo and were installed on your Ganden throne in Lhasa, central Tibet. You grew up in Tibet during a time of great turmoil and critical juncture. Communist China was invading Tibet, brutally suppressing, humiliating and abusing Tibetans. Nevertheless, you diligently carried out your education in the 10 traditional subjects. In the meantime, at the age of 16, you took the temporal and spiritual responsibility of Tibet. Following that, you displayed efficient leadership qualities by working amicably with China and its military force that have arrived in Tibet, while setting up the Reform Committee to change the Tibetan society. In the midst of all of this, you completed your Buddhist studies into the final examination of Geshe Haramba. Thus, you became a top-ranking scholar and custodian of the entire teaching of the Buddha. Since the government of China violated the 17-point agreement, you revealed their true color. Their motive was to invade Tibet and wipe out the Tibetan race. In the end, it became a common knowledge that China used deception and hypocrisy to arrest and murder Tibetan leaders, lamas, noblemen, and general public. So when they invited Your Holiness and other Tibetan government, religious and political authorities to the Chinese army headquarters in Lhasa, the Tibetans in Lhasa rose to refuse the invitation and started a large-scale movement against China's ploy. That was a turning point in the history of modern Tibet. When we became exiles, we knew no one except for the familiar sky and earth. So we built the infrastructure of Tibetan settlements, monasteries, nunneries, schools, and improved them over time. Thus, we could provide livelihood to the exiles, preserve and promote our unique Tibetan cultural heritage, religion, and language. At the same time, in the past 5 decades, Your Holiness has made 3 big strides in our exile community, establishing a new and democratic system, making necessary changes, and making a fully functional democracy. During the Cold War era, Your Holiness informed the United Nations organization in more than 60 countries about the real Tibetan issues without taking sides with any party involved. In the 1980s of the previous century and the first decade of this millennium, you sought dialogue with the People's Republic of China to resolve the Tibetan issue. Your Holiness, we will never be able to express our gratitude to you for everything you have done for us. Your Holiness's detailed teachings on inner values of love and compassion for creating a compassionate world, promoting universal ethics, promoting religious harmony, preservation and promotion of Tibetan religion, cultural heritage and environment, as well as the revival of ancient Indian wisdom, are beneficial for a harmonious society and national progress. Therefore, it is necessary to introduce and combine these inner values of love and compassion with contemporary education without touching religion. The treatises containing the complete teachings of Buddhism, including Buddhist logic and epistemology, Buddhist philosophy, and Buddhist psychology, are only extant in the Tibetan language. Tibetan Buddhist tradition is the soul of Tibetan culture. Therefore, it must be treated as a world's treasure and a special heritage of Tibet, and preserved and promoted through teaching and study. Compassion, forbearance, contentment, and morality are messages common to all major world religions. By recognizing that they should promote these inner values for their purposes, for the common good of all beings in the world, for the advancement of religious harmony, and for the promotion of ethical discipline everywhere, all the time, by bearing in mind the sense of oneness of humanity. These practices will lay the foundation for a happy life and peace in the world. Your Holiness has shown us the importance of spreading these messages widely, and therefore you are unanimously honored and respected as a protector, refuge, and guardian of all the people of Tibet, China, and Mongolia, as well as those directly or indirectly related to them. These are your 4 commitments. As part of them, Your Holiness has held 37 Mind and Life conferences between modern science and Buddhist science. Sea learning has grown from Your Holiness's vision of secular ethics, and today it has become part of educational curriculum in numerous schools around the world. In the history of human evolution, there has never been a world leader, whether spiritual or political, like you, Your Holiness, who has built a golden bridge between cultures of the East and West. To come to the point of this ceremony, this CTA, the general Tibetan public, and our deities collectively make this long life offering to Your Holiness with these small material offerings. The mandala with the special features of the 4 tradition continents, the 7 royal emblems which are representative of the vast ocean of Buddha fields. We offer the representations of body, speech, and mind of the Buddhas, the necessary clothes, the 8 auspicious symbols, and the 8 auspicious substances. We also wish to make an offering of practice, no matter how small, for the sake of the temporal and spiritual matters of Tibet, by sincerely following Your Holiness's words of command to the best of our ability. We request Your Holiness to be pleased with our offerings and accept them, so that we could accrue some meritorious karma. Once again, we make this fervent supplication to you with this prayer. Remain until samsara comes to an end. As protector of the land of snows, whose beings are without protection, continue to incarnate until all beings are enlightened, and bestow blessings of the 4 excellences: spiritual knowledge, prosperity, happiness, and liberation. So in accord with the prophecies of deities and lamas, and also as you have accepted it time and time again, we strongly pray to Your Holiness, please do not waver from your pledge and live over 125 years of age, Mahasiddha Thongthang Gyalpo, for 125 years, in order to fulfill your 4 main commitments. In 2011, when Your Holiness developed your temporal authority to the elected leadership, apart from accepting the 3 clauses of Article 1 of the Charter of Exiled Tibetans, you declined the persistent request from the Special General Body Meeting of the Tibetan people and the Tibetan Parliament. In those clauses, only the title, the 14th Dalai Lama, is mentioned, which has left a space for the opportunistic China to take advantage of the provision. The Tibetan diaspora are scattered in many different countries. The demographic decline in Tibetans, the increased implementation of aggravated and calculated dubious policy of the Communist China devices against our people inside Tibet, the challenges of inadequate understanding of democracy still lurking amongst our own people in exile, the fact the CTA must continue its efficiency in dealing with our struggle for Tibet in order to preserve our religion and culture in a sustainable manner, and particularly for the fellow Tibetans inside Tibet, whose hopes lie in Your Holiness, to have a firm confidence that Tibet and Tibetans have not become null for no reasons. The provision in Charter for Exiles, which reads the protected refuge and symbol, does not refer only to the 14th Dalai Lama, but it covers the responsibility of all the succession of Dalai Lamas. This is very important because of the inextricable historical bond between the Dalai Lamas and Tibetan people for thousands of years, and for the reason that this bond is the artery that supplies blood to the entire body of Tibetans under the sky for our Tibetan race to prosper and develop. As such, we single-pointedly appeal to Your Holiness to recall your pledge, as the 7th Dalai Lama writes in a prayer. Then, what did your promise of the past mean? Who can your subjects turn to for refuge? The 16th Cabinet Ministry discards all biases and prejudices and shuns the rule of individuals as our principle. We regard equity and justice for all. Without discrimination against anyone, we pull all our resources together for the common goal of the collective. We abandon all backwardness and confrontational approaches and step forward to achieve our common goal. With these three fundamental guiding principles, we dedicate ourselves to serve our cause. Unless we have mistakes and cause loopholes in our work out of ignorance or lack of efficiency, we will do our best to serve the Tibetan cause and work for the welfare of the exiled Tibetan community without upsetting or displeasing Your Holiness. We abide by the law of karma. This is our pledge to you, Your Holiness. May Your Holiness live as long as Amitayus, the Buddha of infinite lifespan. May we the Tibetan people wholeheartedly request Your Holiness to kindly accept our request, just as the seventh Dalai Lama writes in his praise to Avalokiteshvara. Even Your own name is blessed. Whoever hears it will be freed from fear. Those who keep Your name in mind will reap fruits similar to performing devotion to countless Buddhas. This has been taught by the great sage with words of truth, and so with great hope we make a prayer that You, great protector, who have left behind the mind that is distracted elsewhere, will rescue these desperate sentient beings. Please, please, please answer our fervent request.